Hello, welcome to the Spirit of Apollo. I'm your host, Mark Lesmeister. Today we're going to start on Bag 7, which is the beginning of the second stage of the rocket. Before we do that, I thought I'd spend a little bit of time talking about why we have rockets that are launched in stages. In a previous episode, I discussed how in order to get something into orbit, you have to greatly increase its speed. The equation governing all of this is the Tsiolkovsky rocket equation. This equation was named for Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, who published it in 1903. Now, I know not everybody likes equations, so I'm not going to dwell a long time on this one. But I just want to point out two parts of it. On the left-hand side, you see delta V. Delta is the little triangle-looking thing. Now, delta V means the change in velocity. Actually includes lots of things, but it's a total change in motion that you want to give your rocket in order to get it to where you want it to go. On the right-hand side, you see mf. That's the final mass. And you notice it's in the denominator of a fraction. That means the more final mass you have left over compared to the initial mass of your rocket plus its propellant, the less delta V you're going to get. So how can we deal with this problem? Because we have to have some final mass. That includes the payload that we're trying to get into orbit. Well, one way they've come up with to deal with this problem is to shed part of the mass as the rocket goes up into orbit. You have a first stage of your rocket, usually has the largest motors, and that first stage will take your rocket up to a certain point. And then after all of the propellant in the fuel tanks for the first stage has been expended, the first stage is no longer useful, it's just useless mass, and so it's just ejected, separated from the rest of the rocket, and then the second stage starts up. Its engines fire off, they carry the rocket to the next point in the process, and so forth. The Saturn V rocket was a three-stage rocket. We've already discussed the first stage and its F1 engines. I will talk a little bit more about the other two stages and how they were designed when we get to those stages in the construction. So here's Bag 7. I'll put it on the rocket and I'll tell you how it goes. Okay, so here is the results of Bag 7. You can see that it looks very similar to the beginnings of stage 1, a little bit smaller round perhaps, and so this is beginnings of stage 2, and then next time we'll see what happens when we put on Bag 8. Until then, Godspeed.